evening. Welcome to another edition of Face to Face. We find ourselves at the cusp of yet another election in the span of a very few months. And the general public voted overwhelmingly for the National People's Power at the presidential election, even more so at the general election. And now we find ourselves at the cusp of a local government election. All parties are still running hard in their campaigns, of course, asking the general public to cast their vote in favor of them. Now, of course, to discuss these matters and, of course, much more that affect the economy of Sri Lanka, we've got with us today Janaka Ratnayake. He is the former chairman of the PUCSL and the Export Development Board, also a former presidential candidate. Janaka Ratnayake, a very good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shalan.
So, Mr. Ratnayake, if I may give a bit of a, kickstart to this conversation, you contested the presidential election, didn't emerge victorious.
Yeah.
What is your involvement like in Sri Lankan politics at the moment?
My involvement in politics is basically zero or below zero.
Below zero?
Yes.
Oh,
I
okay.
contested the presidential election, then the general election, and I felt that people are not looking for a person like me in politics.
Okay.
So I thought that I mind my business without getting into this. I would say for 75 years it was dirty politics. Now it's very tricky politics.
Tricky?
Yes.
Okay.
So therefore I thought that to be completely away from politics.
Because you're neither dirty nor tricky.
But people call it I'm both. Yeah?
You're both.
I'm just joking,
so Mr. Ratnayake, now it's quite interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
That people are not ready for a person like you, because there are many people, of course, who contested these elections for the first time. Even say, for example, a party like the People's Struggle Alliance.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been active in, student politics, so on and so forth. But that's the first time that they contested as a party. There were lawyers, there were senior lawyers, there were relatively somewhere in the middle level lawyers, a lot of people, professionals. There were certain other parties also that put forward and then came and contested. I'm just wondering why you contested the presidential election, you contested the general election. Those are the only two elections that you contested, as one as the presidential candidate and then for the parliamentary election. So are you saying that just twice is enough? Because it might be discouraging for people who want to get into this politics. Because the thing that popped into my mind when you said this was Imran Khan. Now, you know how many times Imran Khan contested the election. I mean, his fate today is an entirely different matter. But he went from zero to hero in a matter of somewhere like a decade.
Yeah.
So for you to come into politics...
Now, for unknown reasons, he is imprisoned.
No, for charges of sedition. Those are the...
No, I'm just telling you.
Okay.
Now, it is the politics in Asia. It's the politics that we are talking about. I think people are more aware of politics probably than us, because, for last 76 years, we have been, people say that we have been selecting the wrong people. I am of the same opinion.
Okay.
And look at, Asian politics from Bangladesh to Pakistan to India to Sri Lanka. It is not basically, things are not happening on any rationale. And you look at the results this time, you said that, maybe the last election, presidential election, the general election was the two event that many professionals, many newcomers was trying to come into, and they thought that there is an opportunity. But what we saw was something completely different under this system, and people said that you can never get 2/3, but the ruling party got more than 2/3. Now, after getting probably good win in presidential election, then you get more than 2/3 in parliamentary. Now they're asking for
local governments.
Local governments.
So are you saying they shouldn't ask? They should just give up?
They should ask. But they now see, when you are having the executive president with 2/3, what can't you do? You can do many things. But now say all the economic activities are not spoken about, for last maybe 1 month, plus maybe until the election, we talk only politics. Now, there are so many issues that we have. People say that, you look at even today's paper, the World Bank says that more than 40% of our population is starving. So that are the real facts. Now, when we have an executive president with absolute majority, when we have 2/3 parliament, and now see local government, I am completely out of politics, they may get the majority. But all now say you win the best race. You win the second best race. The third one, you win it. But I don't think that although you win the third one will have any impact on the first and the second and the first one. Because you are given the absolute authority for you to run the country.
Okay.
So, while running the country, you get whatever you can. But when you look at the campaigns now on your channel and the other channels, the things what we hear is same the same thing that we hear over and over again. I think since the ruling party has the mandate twice, now they can concentrate to address the problem that World Bank is addressing today in papers. People are not having enough to eat. Now you go to the market and you look at the prices of vegetables, prices of other essential things, and they are beyond the common man's the touch. You look at the prices of the two old story talk about coconut, but coconut prices are still going up. And the paddy and the rice issue has been right throughout. So we need solutions because the government is in power for last 6 months. And you don't need 1 year or 2 years to stabilize these essential goods for people to eat.
So how do you propose that the government really stabilizes these prices? What would be the common approach that you should have taken?
No, you can't just within 1 or 2 words you can't describe what would be the plan. But now you see, we were talking about market intervention. We were talking about like say many things. But for last 6 months, tell me a single foundation or policy is being established or taken to eradicate these problems. Tell me 1 or 2. You tell me this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. No, they will come out with many things and say that corruption is not there, that is not there, this is not there. But you need to understand, recognize the burning issue at your, the major burning issues of the economy.
So you're saying it's starvation, people
starvation is the major issue.
Okay.
So you are talking about inflation and like plus minus every month. Take policy decisions to overcome these problems. Now see, you are talking about.
So on the point of food and addressing these essential goods, just some things that came into my mind when you asked what the government did. Since there is no government representation, maybe it's only fair that
we talk in.
No,
public,
I understand. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's only fair that I maybe put into perspective some of those. Say, for example, farmers were the backbone of the Sri Lankan economy. They were lamenting for decades, saying we don't have proper price for paddy. And then the Paddy Marketing Board, of course, was brought in for the very purpose of ensuring. And the storage facilities. So this government took steps to clean up the storage facilities, set a price, say, come and give us paddy. And what happened in the market technically after that.
Don't forget that they allocated 5 billion rupees from the budget to buy and sell paddy.
To buy and sell paddy, yes.
And that means that they do not understand even the now say buying a good and for selling is not an investment, should come from the budget.
So, but then now you are asking, or you're telling the government, solve these issues. Now, this is one issue that has been there for a long time.
Yes.
So, this is the government's take on how to solve this issue. Is your what you're saying is that is wrong? That is not what they should have done.
No, they should have done better. Now, see, for example, they came out with a price. I do not know whether the farmers or the market accepted it.
The market actually, I think private purchasers, at least if you follow the news,
purchased
they purchased it at a higher price. Yes, exactly.
That means the price is wrong. According to the market principles. Now, according to the market principles, the price should be determined by demand and supply. Now, you go and fix the price below the market price, and you won't get it. Then you allocate 5 billion where you need more than 300 billion from the budget to buy it.
Now, wasn't that?
Now, these are the wrong decisions I'm telling you.
Inherently, the problem in Sri Lanka, as far as even rice is concerned, there is a monopoly. There are several purchasers who manipulate.
Who has the monopoly and who has the authority? Who has the government? Now, you mean that one or two, if one or two people of
is that not the case?
In this particular market if in this market can dominate and control,
yes.
Why do you need a government? Why do you need a government?
But the government's perspective.
Now, you want me to say this these buyers, the big timers, do they have 100 billion to buy paddy? Do they have cash? Who's financing them?
Who's financing?
Two government banks are financing these big timers by way of loan given to them at concession rate to buy paddy from the farmers. You want me to say that the guys who come in TVs and say that, I have this, that. No, they go to banks, especially to Bank of Ceylon and People's
So
Bank.
are you saying
they borrow from government banks,
okay,
and they buy from paddy farmers, and they stock it, and they control the market like the diamond and gold, and they make their money because they need to pay banks. And end of the day, you see, these banks are making, economy is bankrupt, SMEs are out of business, banks are making 50 billion. Bank is making 50 billion, plus the vendors are making millions of billions of money. You need, somebody should understand this mechanism.
This story sounds like a hole in the bucket because we come to the same point. So what is the solution then?
Solution is, now see, the biggest paddy supplier or the rice supplier says, government has allocated 5 billion rupees, which is, ridiculous, where you need more than 300 billion. Now, he may be investing around 100 billion borrowed from banks to buy this. If the government want to intervene, can they intervene? They can find a way. Now, you want me to say that big timers are having 100 billion in their pockets to buy this paddy? No,
so then the question is, how should they intervene, in your opinion?
I'm telling you indirectly. I'm telling you indirectly.
Stop giving loans.
No, not stop giving loans. Use the same mechanism. Without allocating 5 billion and becoming ridicule of this, the so-called the monopolistic people, you do the same thing. Government can do it in better way. And now you talk about storage. Now the latest news is that it is closed. And without, now say, we saw in papers and media that many storage facilities were
cleaned.
Now go and see the status now. Nobody is probably going the same, after 6-7 months, what happens. So therefore, only I'm telling you, you have the power, absolute power. And you have it almost for half a year. Now take proper decisions. Now say you are talking about paddy. You don't talk about the fertilizer prices. So give subsidies. Now say I want to have another point. Now see, when I was reading and going through this economics, we see something quite similar with our economy and American economy. Our economy is around 7 trillion rupees.
7 trillion rupees. Okay.
US economy is $7 trillion. So I see 7 trillion in two different these things. And see how the economies are managed. Out of the 7 trillion in USA, around 3 trillion is for subsidies of different these things, farmers and things like that. When it comes to subsidies of our economy of 7 trillion, what are we talking about?
So don't you
we talk about 5,000 rupees to this.
Don't you think it's unfair for you to compare Sri Lanka with the US economy?
I'm talking about economy to economy, rupees and dollars.
But rupees are not
300 is different story.
No, rupees. No, I understand. Yes. I'm not saying that the values are the same. But all I'm saying is that the rupee is not the reserve currency of the world.
No. It is not about the reserve currency. And to manage your currency better. You manage your currency better with innovative thinking. Now say you have a new set of parliamentarians, so-called professionals, intellectuals. What is the input for last 3 months? What is the input for last 6 months? Have they come out with something innovative?
No,
if anybody understand the gravity of, now see, this paddy problem that we are talking about, we'll be talking about next 3-4 years for sure.
But then this time around, do you think that at least the farmers, did the farmers get a fair price for paddy this time? Yes or no?
They would have got a better price than before because they sold it maybe more than the government prices.
Yeah. So is that
and when they sell more than the government prices, who bears it up?
You're saying the people will have to, the consumers will have to purchase. Right.
Instead, you reduce the cost of production, where the farmer and the consumer will both come out profitably. Reduce or give the subsidies to fertilizer, which we have been manufacturing some time back, and politicians got together and destroy all those things. Now we import high taxes, VAT, and all those things. Now you look at from Europe to America, America to Ukraine to Switzerland to China, and everywhere, farmers are heavily subsidized. Why? They produce, people eat. So it's investment. It is not just subsidies.
So no, my question to you is, now you posed a lot of questions, of course, to our viewers, asking what have they done, have they contributed, have they brought forward the proper solutions? So in your opinion, this government, the president has been in power for 6 months.
Yes.
The government
into politics for last 25 years.
Yes, the government has been in power for about
4 months.
4 months. Government has been in power for 4 months. So do you think that this 6 months of the president and 4 months of the government has been worse than the previous government, or the government before that, or the governments that have come before that? Do you think it's worse, it's absolutely the worst government, or it's a little bit better, they could have been better? Where do you stand?
No, they can do better.
They can do better?
Yes, in the sense, now say, they claim that they are doing better.
Okay. Are they?
And no, people do, that is people to determine in time to come.
No,
but
I'm asking what's your reading?
No, my review is that I'm a businessman.
Okay.
I look at facts and figures only.
Okay. So what is your opinion?
Now, if you look at commodity prices, are you getting a better price?
You're answering my questions.
I'm asking you and the viewers. Now, see,
you're answering my questions with questions.
No, I'm not. I'm not posing a question.
Okay.
I'm just making people aware. Have we got anything better, except the reduction of tariff, electricity tariff? Anything else? Now, see, you look at last week and one more article. The prices of fuel, diesel and petrol has come down by almost 10%, 30 to 35 rupees. Now, what is the benefit the common people have got? Nothing. And this reduction gives a better profit margin to the sellers.
But don't you think that you're looking at these matters in a little bit more of a narrow perspective? Like, what can the individual get when,
This is what matters end of the day. What you get, what I get, what common people get, especially these 40% people who are starving. This is what matters to the government.
So, but in relation to the 40% of people who are starving, the subsidies have been increased. The Aswasama program, the amount of benefits that are given to them has been increased. The fertilizer subsidy, the amount that has been given under the fertilizer subsidy has been increased. Elders' allowances have been increased. Allowances for kidney patients has been increased. So now when you say, everything matters on what we get and what I get, don't you think that's a little bit more of a narrow perspective?
No, we look at, if you look at the again, another news, what I probably read yesterday or today, you need 17,000 rupees for an individual just to survive a month. And 65,000 rupees for 4 people.
That's quite less. I remember a time when it was about 95,000 to 99,000.
65,000.
For 4 people.
Yeah,
I remember
people,
at the time.
65,000.
Now it's lower.
Yes.
Okay.
Now tell me, how many people make 65,000? I'm not asking you a question. How many people make out of these 22 million people 65,000 rupees? They hardly make. That means we are living below the poverty line. What I say is that, why I posing all these questions, now see, the ruling party, the president, the government got absolute majority. They can't complain. So they will get maybe majority in the forthcoming election as well.
Okay.
Good. But what happens is, when they are in power, you don't need to wait years and years. Now you were talking about, certain subsidies given to different categories. Is it enough? Now when you need 17,000 rupees for a person to live, giving 5,000 rupees to a particular individual per month, he doesn't get even 1/3 of what he wants to live.
So, now, but then there is the argument.
But comparatively, you say comparatively, yes, something better. But more. I say not only that, but I say that you give subsidies, but you make people and make the environment, the economy conducive people to survive. Giving subsidies is not enough.
No, if I pose this question to you like this. Now, of course, you've been part of Sri Lanka's business community for the longest time. You've been, well, of course, involved in politics, in civil society, so on and so forth. You even held high positions in the government, state sector. So, in your view, do you think that there has been a change in how things are done in Sri Lanka since this government came into power? Do you think there has been even the slightest of changes?
They were talking about changes.
Yes.
They were talking about corruption. And people say that there's no corruption. But corruption to take place, you need economic activities. So what are the major activities that they have aligned? For last maybe the months, 6-7 months that they were in power. When there are no transaction happens, people can't corrupt. But if you say that corruption has stopped.
So when you say no transactions, what kind of transactions?
I'm talking about economic transactions.
So when you say economic transactions, what kind of transactions are you looking at? Government to government, massive projects, Umayyah? Is that what you're talking about?
Those are all things that you're talking about. I'm talking about new projects.
New projects?
What are the new projects that you're talking about?
No, I'm asking what scale are you looking at? What scale are you looking at?
For people to rob.
Because when you say
for people to rob.
So for people to rob. So for example, something that comes into my mind since you asked the question is the projects that they launched, of course, to renovate these buses that were thrown aside, and you would have seen that during the festive season, CTB had assigned so many buses that the chairman of the Private Bus Owners Association had to come out and say, look here, don't only go in red-colored buses, come and try and use a few of ours as well. We know that they have put so much. So that's one project. Is that not a good enough project for you? What do you say? Because that, I mean, based on the criteria that you gave me, some financial transaction that opens, up for corruption, parts, what buses do you take, stealing parts, that's a transaction. So are you talking transactions like that, or?
I don't understand. I feel that since I was into business, that we deal with many institutions. Corruption in public has come down.
Come down in the public sector. Among the public.
Corruption in public.
Corruption in public. Okay.
So still the same system runs. I do not know the magnitude, but it's the same.
So how do you say that?
They are a bit reluctant.
Okay.
But it happens.
So technically, if I'm just being completely, just crass about this, to put it in, quite frankly, if you want to pay a bribe, you can pay a bribe, but they wouldn't take it in public. You need to be extremely discreet about it and be like, here, it's okay, you take this. You're saying that will happen.
Yes, it's happening.
So do you think that that's a step up from where we were in a country where, everybody's like, I mean, even the president at the time, I won't go on to name which president it was, came out and said, well, we couldn't win the no confidence motion in parliament because the price of a parliamentarian went up to about 300 million rupees and we couldn't really afford that. So when corruption, when bribery was such a public affair, now you are coming and telling me that it's no longer a public affair, but it still takes place sometimes in private. Is that a positive development?
No, you can compare that and say it's positive, but in order to get away with corruption, you need to develop the economy. As long as people do not earn enough, that there's a room for corruption.
So, but now this is a story like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yes.
The chicken or the egg. So you have to start somewhere. So when we speak about, so it's either develop the economy first, reduce corruption first, or try and do both simultaneously. So what do you think is happening right now?
I wonder whether that you are maybe following the news in especially print media. How many got caught during the last 2 months from the government service taking bribes?
Got caught.
Yeah.
Got caught. I think.
Got caught red-handed.
Got caught red-handed, yes. And now being prosecuted.
No, if you look yeah, they have been prosecuted.
They have been prosecuted.
They have been prosecuted.
So is that not a good thing?
They have been prosecuted right throughout. The small officers who take 5,000, 25,000, 50,000 has been always prosecuted.
Okay.
The only big guys are getting escaped. That has been the practice. Now, same trend is continuing.
You can't really say that. I mean, the chairman of the Timber Corporation got sent in for taking about 20 million back in the day. So there have been incidents. No, my question to you really is, again, I will repeat the question before we cross over to a short commercial break. Do you see a change from how things were? You said corruption is taking place in private, not in public. In your view, is that something good? Can we build from there on?
You can build. It's a good positive sign.
Okay.
But that is not enough.
So then the next question, I think maybe you already answered that question. Are you happy with how much we have changed from the time that the new government came into power? Are you happy?
No, I am not happy because I am always talking about not this, tiny bit of corruption. I talk about many other things. I'm talking about, the problems that people have been facing 6 months back has not been improved yet. So therefore,
when you say has not been improved yet, you're saying has not been improved at all?
No. No, you can't.
Has not been improved enough?
No, you can't measure it because we do not see any positive results out of that. Now, if the poverty remains the same, if the commodity prices remains the same, if the economic troubles are still there, and what are the positive things that we are talking about? We are talking about organic growth. Organic growth is there, except maybe in the year 2019 or maybe during the bankruptcy, but economic growth, the organic growth is there in every economic activity. So it is been taking place around now. Say you look at even the world economy, although we are having all those problems, it's growing at around 1.1%. So that economic, the growth of that, if you compare to Sri Lankan economy, maybe 2-3% is organic growth. But what we want is to double it. To double it, you need to have new vision, new thinking, new ideas, without delaying it further. And they have got the mandate. Mandate is given clearly. Now they can sit back and relax and work.
We'll cross over to a short commercial break and be back with more. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Facebook.
Newsfirst, face to face with Charlotte Benedict. Entertainments.
Design is like music. It's a whole orchestra. The dots, the lines, the dashes. It's a whole symphony. It has to feel good.
Come on a fantastic discovery of design as Anthony Burke meets designers from Mumbai to Yogyakarta, showcasing groundbreaking works.
This is me, this is my creation, this is my life.
Culture, by design.
Saturday at 6 p.m. onwards on TV1.
Solomon, beware. This girl's got poison.
Lita Lisa.
No, thank you.
Fortunately for you, I'm one of them.
What is this?
I missed you too.
It's not that easy.
Prefect. Saturday and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. on TV1.
If you do not perform, or if you have not performed, and if you do not perform, this is a protest vote we are going to place, and that signal, that protest vote will go down very well, because the government will know that their popularity is coming down and they will have to arrest it.
This government needs checks and balances.
You can't say only winning parties announce their candidates. There have been it has been time and time again where, candidates are chosen.
Our police is still being restructured and reformed at the moment, and that is part of the reason. But I also think organized crime is a bit unsettled at the moment.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m.
Entertainments. Newsfirst, face to face with Shalan Benedict.
Welcome back. You're watching Face to Face. We're in discussion with Janaka Ratnayake, former chairman of the PUCSL and the Export Development Board. Mr. Ratnayake, we started off our conversation with your involvement in politics, and we moved on to more substantive matters, matters that are closer to the heart of the general public, their problems, their issues, and whether there are proper solutions being implemented to solve those matters. But before we get into that substantive part again, there was just one question that I wanted to pose to you that I really couldn't squeeze in the last time. Do you plan on, if the time is right again, maybe trying your hand again at politics?
No, never.
No, so
I'll never come into politics.
You never come into politics?
I was forced to come into politics. I was not into politics anyway.
Okay.
I was close to politicians, but not into politics.
Okay.
So I will never come back to politics.
Okay. Why is that?
No, I think that I told you that although you are trying to do best to the people, when you get opportunity, I think I delivered my best when I was handling, reasonable positions, but I don't think that people understood it. And in Sri Lanka, the politics is, I think you need to have, now you were talking about, some new parties who are into student politics, they never got opportunity. So it's like that. So you need to have deep-rooted political connections in this country. It is not common only to Sri Lanka, to the Asian region, except maybe a person like Imran Khan that you mentioned. Very difficult. Because people are not looking at, now see, in the modern day, I think economics should play more than politics in your day-to-day life.
But do you think
economic problems will resolve 90% of your issues?
But when you enter politics, I mean, it's a public service, and do you think it's right on your part, at least, if you say and if you believe so dearly that you can make the lives of Sri Lankans better, because it's not only the lives of average Sri Lankans that you're making better, it's your family members, future generations of Sri Lanka, your children, your children's children, so on and so forth. So if you genuinely believe that you have good policies, or you can formulate good policies, you can really serve the general public in a capacity of a politician, do you think it's fair that you've given up on the general public just 2 elections, after contesting 2 elections in the span of 4 months?
Yeah. What I feel is that, without talking about my political background and what I did, people have come for a change after 76 years. Now, within next 2-3 years or 5 years, we can witness how the new the politics or the the new people who have come into power will govern this country. Whether it is, it must be better than what we had all these years. So therefore, as at now, I told you that I will not come into politics. I think if you want to do public service, I don't think that the politicians who have come into power never looked at public service except their, personal mandate. So therefore, opportunities given to new set of people, professionals, academics, I think many are novices. We wait and see for next 2-3 years whether they will deliver it. Then people can basically take a decision looking at the old politicians and the new politicians and make a decision who is better. Or you need maybe somebody new to come into this. So that will be the right opportunity for me to talk about politics again. But I feel as at now that I will not come back to politics because politics is not in me. But if you want to do public service, there are many other opportunities that people can find.
You were a bit apprehensive about the general public saying that, they didn't really give a chance to someone new, someone who could have really made a change in Sri Lanka, speaking about how, you didn't get the result that you expected at the elections. But do you think that now, we've seen how Sri Lanka has functioned for a long period of time. Usually when a government gets elected, that government stays in power for the next 5, 10, 15, not 5, 10 actually, 10 to 15 years. So they are guaranteed the next 2 elections almost.
No.
That's
no.
I'm saying
it changed from 2015.
Yes, exactly. It changed from 2000. Yes.
Yeah.
So that change is a positive change. People no longer. I don't believe. I genuinely don't believe that there is a group of people in Sri Lanka, numbers strong enough to change a government that are I am Kepuat this color.
I don't think you can't find those people now.
That's no longer there.
No longer there.
So that's a good thing.
Yes.
That's a great thing, right? So people are no longer bound, shackled even to these political parties for maybe giving their parents a house or giving their parents or their children a job. That's no longer there. So that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing again because now see.
Why is it a bad thing?
In the sense now see, since it is changing very frequently, I think that if this government is doing at least maybe 20 or 25% better than what earlier people did, they should deserve another chance without trying a new other thing. Therefore, people need to be very careful also in not this forthcoming election, in election to come, to assess what they did for 76 years.
But then after the people really changed that kind of attitude towards politics, like you said, in 2015, once they changed that, every time a government has fallen, which is twice actually, those governments fell because of serious mistakes on their part. The government of good governance, April 21st attacks. Government of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, economic crisis. So there were justifiable reasons for people to be like, no, you haven't really safeguarded our interests, so we're moving somewhere else. So would it be fair to say that we have yet to see if the people will make the right decision when it comes to, based on what you said, if this government is doing about 25% better than the previous government, they definitely deserve a chance to maybe further their policies.
Yes. But what happens is, we do not know what is coming.
Yeah.
We are still into 6 months.
Definitely.
And we do not know what will happen.
But are you hopeful? Are you hopeful? Do you trust in the people of Sri Lanka?
We do not know what will happen in macro situation in the world and the war situations.
But you really can't run away from that, can you? You can't run away from that.
You can't run away.
You can only face it.
You need to face it. But to face it, I think the present government is having the mandate. I am repeating it many times. Sit back, relax, forget about politics. Concentrate in economics, because when you are economically developed, most of your problems can be sorted out. And you will remain with maybe little social issues and maybe cultural issues. Those things can be fixed by the politicians. So therefore, what matters in this world at this moment in Sri Lanka, people should be able to live with enough means. Then only most of the problems we can eradicate. So therefore, the present government, the young government, should take proper decisions. Of course, they need probably expertise of different the field and industries. They should reach out to them and learn from whatever that you can learn from the world, and make sure that you get the right policies without probably going witch hunting always and market it to public. I think witch hunting can be done, maybe if you look at the percentage, maybe 90-10. But 90% they should concentrate in economics and to make sure the people who are starving, who are not having enough means, let them develop their individual and family the situations, and make sure that as a policymakers to make this country a better developed nation than before. That should be the main reason, and therefore I think the president should have with the team a good vision. I am talking about visionaries like Lee Kuan Yew, Mahathir Mohamad. You have seen many famous characters in the world. So I think we need a leader like that, and we hope that the present leader will probably have a good vision about the future and especially in economics, and get the right people and develop it. We all can live happily. As a businessman, of course, I find opportunities always in any troubled waters. So therefore I think, but the common people, maybe 99% people can't do that. They need good governance, good government, people-friendly government, to make sure that they are out of this day-to-day troubles.
We're in the final few minutes of this program, and since you brought the argument about we don't know what kind of external factors we will have to face, geopolitics, global economics, how will it affect Sri Lanka? I'd just like to pick your mind about something that's very quite current, developing even. Donald Trump's new taxes on various countries. Sri Lanka, he initially slapped 10% baseline, and then 44% on top of that, and then it was halted for 90 days. Now, with the way the things are going, with the trade war between China and the US intensifying, and Donald Trump starting to pull back on the taxes, do you think that this will, how much of an impact do you think this will have on
I
Sri
was
Lanka?
an admirer of Trump.
Okay.
Until he won. But when he started the trade war, and I lost confidence in him, the reason is that now say slapping 250 taxes on imports of China, who is he taxing?
The people of US.
People of US. He doesn't understand that.
You think he doesn't understand that? Or
he doesn't understand that.
He doesn't understand
Now see,
that.
when you are importing 650 billion worth of things, when you are charging 250, that means you are talking about 1.5 trillion, 1 trillion of taxes imposed on people for the same product. And it's a wrong decision. It's a foolish decision. Rather, he would have negotiated or improved his exports, and we'll talk about, like say, to reduce the trade imbalances and things like that. The imposing taxes on your own people, I think it's based on maybe wrong advice by somebody. I don't think even Elon Musk would like it. Nobody likes it. Anybody who understands the economics, a bit of economics, demand and supply, and trade balances and things like that, will not take that decision. Because putting tariff on imports will tax the people in your country, not the other. So they will find better markets now. Say, I think if you look at the China's development, I don't think that their 15% of exports to USA will have a major impact. They will find better markets. And before I forget something, let me come out with this also. Now see, this is completely different what we were talking about. Now we are very good with our neighbor, India. And we are good with the super world power that we are talking about, China. The president of this country for the first 6 months had 2 visits. And Indian president, the prime minister came, he went, and it's good relations. Now, if the president is smart enough, without asking for money or credit or maybe loans, he could have canvassed for more tourists. So we are getting, say, supposing 1.5 million from India. And if you facilitate and you talk to the political hierarchy, Modi, double it. you make 2 billion more. You have good ties with China. You ask Xi Jinping, I am getting around 500,000. Send me around 2.5 million. You are doing another 4-5 billion rupees, dollars. And they can easily do that because they don't lose it. But you know, these two companies, since they are having good political control, if they make an opinion, or maybe they are the conditions and the regulations right, you can double. And we can double our income. So you don't need to go and ask 15 million what they have given as a loan to be converted into aid. So you make more money. I think that's what I'm telling you. I have been trying to get this message across to him. I think I'm getting it across to him now. Use this good relations. Ask for more tourists. Make sure that you have all the facilities in Sri Lanka, or maybe jointly develop or whatever it is, and get tourists. I don't think that we go need to beg anyone.
And I think that brings to a close Face to Face for today. Thank you very much, Janaka Ratnayake,
Thank you very much, Al, having me
taking
again.
time off your busy schedule. No, I mean, time is money, as they say in the business world. So thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule and expressing your views on these matters of public interest here in Sri Lanka. Of course, as we always say during the run-up to an election, it's your vote that will decide the future of this country. It's your right to vote, and it's your responsibility to cast your vote with understanding and use your vote responsibly, of course, to who you would think would serve the general public best. And we are here to keep you informed of the latest information so that you can make an informed decision when you go to the polling booth. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Face to Face. Until we meet again, take care. God bless.
Newsfirst, Face to Face with Charlotte Benedict.